Southern Highlands railway line from Sydney to Goulburn was built in various stages between 1858 and 1869. This was a single track with crossing loops at various points. The line from Liverpool to Campbelltown was one of the first sections to be constructed, and it was completed in 1862. The line was extended to Picton in 1863. Railway services to the Southern Highlands commenced in 1867, when the line was extended on to Mittagong via a large loop line. In 1868, the railway line passed through the town that is now known as Bundanoon. The line continued on to Goulburn and was completed in May 1869. The station was opened as Jordan's Crossing. A platform and waiting shed were added in 1872, and the name was changed to Jordan's Siding in 1878. On April 2nd, 1881, the station became known as Bundanoon, meaning a place of deep gullies.
So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm David Brennan. I'm the president of the Bundanoon History Group, and this is my co-host Christine Janssen, who's president of the Bundanoon Community Association. I'll just give you a quick run through of what's going to happen today. We've got a few short speeches. We've got a period costume prize. That'll be taking place in about 20 minutes. We've got Mr. Howard Collins, who's the CEO of Sydney Trains and New South Wales Trains. He's got a surprise for us on the number 2 platform. And after the speeches and the unveiling on the platform, we'll be moving some vintage cars in here. There'll be a vintage car procession. This railway line through Bundanoon to Marulan was completed on the 6th of August 1868, exactly 150 years ago tomorrow. So we're celebrating one day early, because you'll probably all be at work or school tomorrow, whatever. So it was a major achievement then, and making this celebration happen today, 150 years later, has also been a challenge. Not least because of the tight deadlines to get the station ready on time. However, despite the freezing cold weather, which makes it pretty hard for paint to dry, and then we're in a drought, so we've had no rain, which is not good for planting. Thanks to Spiro and his renovation team, they've done it. Now for a very brief history lesson. Hands up those who loved history at school. Oh, there's a few of you, thank goodness for that. So, well, 150 years ago, for the very first time ever, imagine a big steam train, burning black coal, belching loads of smelly old smoke, rumbled through Bundanoon here on its way from Moss Vale to Marulan. It was an amazing event, an amazing feat of engineering. Imagine if we had to build that railway today by hand with only picks and shovels through the bush. No easy task. But the building of the railway transformed things in the Southern Highlands. The journey from Marulan to Sydney suddenly went from 26 hours by coach and horses to less than 6 hours. And before that, if you wanted to take a load of timber to market, you'd be it'd be pulled by bullocks, and it could take up to 6 days. So a big difference. Suddenly, overnight, the few settlers and farmers down here were united with a new market. Thousands of hungry mouths to feed up there in Sydney. So the railway, with its easy access to the settlements and camps in the Highlands, enabled these settlements to grow and become our villages, like Bundanoon, Penrose, Wingelow, Marulan, Exeter. And finally, before we get the show on the road, I would like to acknowledge some of the key people involved in organising this occasion. There's Peter Golding and Gil Wheaton from the Bundanoon History Group. They've done a massive job, and without them, it never would have happened. Also from the Bundanoon History Group, Helen Clark, who designed our displays, Philip Morton, and those from the Marulan History Society. Also, Paul Daly, who's our local station manager at Moss Vale. Paul's been a great help to all of us. I'm also grateful to Christine, sat here on my left, for jumping on board, excuse the pun, and providing the benefit of her experience, and to Josh Hewitt for doing such a great job on publicity. And from Sydney Trains, there's Andrew Killingsworth. We asked Andrew if he could do a quick paint job on our station, but he's done so much more. As well as looking good for another 150 years, it's a community asset, and we are immensely proud. Thank you, Andrew. So, my sincere thanks to everyone who's worked together to get this as an occasion today. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of pleasure to work with all of you.
Can I first acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Kungara people, pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and also thank Auntie Wendy for the smoking ceremony today. My job today is, in fact, to read a message from the Governor on this occasion. But the message from His Excellency, the Honourable David Hurley, AC DSC, the Governor of New South Wales. I'm delighted to convey my congratulations to the people of Bundanoon on today's 150th anniversary celebration of the opening of this rail line from Sutton Forest, now Moss Vale, to Bundanoon and Marulan. Our railways have always been synonymous with the growth of our regional towns, enabling the colony and then the state's expansion in the areas of agriculture, industry and employment, as well as, of course, tourism and leisure. Indeed, the development of this town and the colony followed the transportation of freight of much needed supplies of coal, timber and stone along this line, with the quarry between Bundanoon and Penrose supplying sandstone for many prominent buildings in Sydney and across New South Wales. Governors both past and present, beginning with the Earl of Belmore in 1868, have used the Southern Rail line to summer here in the cooler climates of the Southern Highlands. We reflect too on the conveyance of troops engaged in both world wars to the city and their sterling support of local women and volunteers who distributed food packages to them as they travelled onto far distant shores. While this town and this railway station have witnessed many changes over the past 150 years, the support of this community has enabled Bundanoon to retain its charm and its character. I congratulate the people of Bundanoon on walking alongside Sydney Trains, New South Wales Train Link, in the restoration of the heritage of this graceful station at the place once named Jordan's Crossing. On behalf of all the people of New South Wales, I convey my warm best wishes to all residents and visitors to Bundanoon on this special day of celebration. His Excellency General the Honourable David Hurley, ACDSC, Governor of New South Wales. It was said much better than I could say it, but can I again pass my congratulations and good wishes.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. I'd now like to invite our local member, Ms. Drew Goward, to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Christine. It's wonderful to be here this morning to celebrate such a significant occasion in the history of the Southern Highlands and indeed of Bundanoon. And it really only remains for me to say thank you to the Governor for those very insightful words about the history of this rail line, begun in an age when this was an enormous undertaking and has seen the movement of produce, the movement of tourists, the movement of troops. And there it was, going all the way to Albury, where it was to then change gauge for the Victorian side of the border. And that's why Albury has this monumental platform, because that's what you needed to do in those days, and that didn't change until 1970. So it was a visionary enterprise, and that is what has always driven nations and the development of nations. Somebody saying, doesn't matter what the cost is, this has to happen. And of course the way it's opened up this region and given us the connections and the ability to live here and enjoy this very beautiful area. I think we have a great deal to be grateful to our forefathers for. So again, thank you to everybody who has made today the success that I know it's going to be, and thank you to our forefathers, and I hope that that inspires our young leaders of today to plan for a future just as great. Thank you.
Thank you, Prue. And I'd just like to say that whenever we have asked Prue to come and be involved in a community event, she has never disappointed. So we do really appreciate the time that you give Bundanoon, and I know how much it means to you. So thank you. It now gives me great pleasure to invite Howard Collins, the CEO of Sydney Trains and New South Wales Trains, to the lectern. Thanks, Howard.
Gosh, it's nice to be here this Sunday than last Sunday down in Sydney Trains when we had a few little issues. But it's a beautiful day up here, and yes, being a Brit, I'm trying to bring some horrible English weather to you, rain. Unfortunately, they're having a heat wave in the UK as well. But I would say, I won't talk about the history of this place because my previous speakers have all talked about it. I want to talk about the people. I want to talk about the people who were here probably in 1868, but more importantly, all the people who've walked through the shoes of the traditional owners of the land here today. I acknowledge the traditional people, the elders past and present, on which I stand, and really respect the First Nation of this country. So, railway people, we're a family. We've been here for many years. We're part of your community, and it is great to be back to join those two communities together. I know there's 1.3 million people who want to give me feedback of how to run a railway, and I'm sure you're no exception. I will honestly and genuinely take on board your views. It's great to have a fantastic restored station, but as someone reminded me today, it's great also to run a service so we can get around and get to those great places. And on my watch, I'm a railway man of 41 years, and in fact, you'll learn about the fact that down the road there is a siding called Collins Sidings, who actually turned up when the place was a bit derelict in 1890 something, and decided that he would open it up and keep it going and connect it and keep it connected with the railway. So I don't know whether he was a relative of mine. There's millions of Collinses out there, but anyhow, this Collins wants to make sure we're continued to be connected with the community and our railway. So I don't want to talk anymore other than we've got some exciting stuff, and I've got a couple of prefects with me, haven't you? Yeah, give us a wave. Yeah, from the local school. We had 150 kids down here on Friday looking around, learning all about railways. I'm hoping to recruit a few. If we keep getting the money from government, I need a lot of people to help us spend it all in the right way. So there's some new recruits there. You may have noticed a bit of tartan around the place. Have you? Yeah, well, there's a bit of tartan up there, and apparently we've now, Andrew, got to head towards here. I'll follow you. We're going to do the unveiling ceremony. We've got the scissors, which I think we can do, and we're going to officially unveil something really important, and our small gesture to you as the Bundanoon community. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And I just want to wrap up and say thanks to everyone for your contributions today.
we went to the